Hello. Say, even sit in the chair here. Hello friends, and to anyone watching this video. Have you ever heard the phrase, what do you have to do around here to get a drink? Well, I have changed that a little bit and said, what do you have to do around here to sell your book? Kindle, my book is on Kindle, Nook, Kobo, WaveCloud, eBooks, Google Books, but it isn't selling very well. And I wonder why. How many books you think there are on Kindle? How many titles? Well, I know how many. There's over 2 million books that are available on those electronic booksellers. So what do I do to distinguish my book from others? Well, this video is an attempt. I want to tell you a little bit what's in the book. This video is about many things, but the main purpose is to tell you about the book I wrote. It was not an easy thing to write a book. It took me 5 years to put it together, but even harder is how do you sell it? How do you make it stand out from all the other books that are on the market? Cookbooks, fiction books, science fiction books, history books, biographical books. It's just a tremendous amount of titles that are out there available, and you have to pick and choose. Now, my book is called Polynesian Dreams, and it's available on all the electronic booksellers for only $3.79. And because I'm 85 years old, I don't really need to make any profit from this book. That was not the idea at all. So I donate all my proceeds to my favorite charity, which is a animal shelter here in my local area where I live in Southern California. So that's where the money goes. I've received a few royalty checks, and I donate them to the shelter. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about what's in my book. I am a fan of a television program called Ancient Aliens. This program alleges that centuries ago Earth might have been visited by highly evolved intelligent beings from another planet. The contributors, laypersons, scientists, astronomers, and physicians suggest that beings from other planets are still watching happenings on Earth and might even walk among us. Do I believe this? Well, my answer always is, I keep an open mind. My book has certain science fiction elements, some might claim. I brought up by a religious grandmother and a mother who was too busy trying to earn a good living and help us survive the war years in occupied Holland. My mother and father separated when I was about 2 years old, and I was never close to my father, and do not know anything about whether he was a believer or not. My own belief, when I was old enough to form an opinion, was more of a doubting Thomas. In Sunday school I was told Bible stories and given prayers and pictures of a God somewhere in the clouds with angels and other beings in white robes and wearing sandals. God was often pictured sitting on a throne. When older, I began to think, how could there be beings in heaven wearing robes or sandals? Robes would be made, say, of cotton that had to be grown on a cotton farm and picked by laborers, milled and made into cloths. Sandals were made of leather, so animal suits would be needed in heaven. And how about the throne? Was it made of metal? Was it made of wood? So my belief in God began to waver. I did, however, believe in guardian angels. And why is that? Because I had experienced several instances where my life had been saved by what only could be called divine intervention. Those instances are in my book, Polynesian Dreams. Later, I argued with myself, if God lived in heaven, God was in actuality an alien. God, I was told, kept track of every living soul on earth and knew all about each life. This seemed a tall order, even for an all-knowing, all-seeing, powerful God. Further, the Bible stories about Immaculate Conception, the Bible characters that lived to be more than 900 years old and at that very advanced age were able to father children, to sire children, that seemed far-fetched and stretching my belief. In my 50s, I became a student of computer technology, and I formed an opinion of virtual heaven, with God as the administrator. I argued that my GPS system on the dashboard of my car would at any time know where I was. My GPS knew the location of every McDonald's and service station in the entire United States, Puerto Rico, and Canada. Now, an all-knowing and all-seeing Supreme God became more of a possibility. God was certainly more powerful than that small screen on my car. My book deals with this and much more. And my co-author, Spirit, kind of a funny way to put it, I call Hendrik, appeared to me to not only give me answers to my questions, but also give me advice. Hendrik, it's a name I made up for him, because spirits, they have no names, even made predictions. My spirit certainly could not be described as a fortune teller, but some of the events Hendrik predicted over 10 years ago seem to be coming true. I'd like to go on and tell you more about Polynesian Dreams, how I came to write it, and what others thought about it. It has been received very favorably by the couple of hundred people that have read it, bought my book when it was in paperback, and now have ordered it on Kindle. They say it's a strange book, but it's a page turner. It's 351 pages long. It describes how I went into the Dutch Royal Navy at a young age. Then I worked for the Dutch Merchant Navy for the Holland America Line. I worked on the Afrodijk and New Amsterdam. And one is a freighter, the other was the flagship of the Holland America Line. I made about 5 trips on that ship, and then I switched over to another company in Holland, the KNSM, and I made a couple of trips to the bottom of the west coast of South America, all up and down the coast. So I kind of had an adventurous life, and there's a lot of, along the way, a lot of romance, a lot of adventure. And then, by a set of circumstances that's in my book, I immigrated to the United States. And there I came in November of 1950, and in the spring of 1951, I was drafted in the American Army during the Korean War. I was drafted because at that time when I came to the United States, you still had first papers, and I indicated that I wanted to become a citizen. Okay, so if you want to become a citizen, then you're also eligible to be served in the army. So I could speak German, courtesy of Herr Hitler, who was in charge of Holland during the war. And when I indicated that I could speak German, they sent me to a language school in Monterey, California, and I passed the test. So instead of going to Korea like most of my buddies in the Army, that I was in the Army with at Fort Ord, they all went to, all of them actually, except me and one other guy, went to Korea, and myself and the other person were shipped to Germany, where I served 2 years as a military policeman and later as a criminal investigator, also due to the fact that I could speak and understand German. So that's all in my book. And then I came out of the Army. I went to school. I married, divorced, and 45 years ago I met the love of my life, and I married her, and fortunately we are still married today. We just celebrated our 45th anniversary. We've known each other for 46 years, but we've been married for 45. So anyway, but one chapter in my book created a tremendous amount of controversy among the people that read it, especially those who belong to kind of a Bible-based church, because according to my spirit that helped me actually co-write the book, I listened, and I says, this chapter I'm retelling a story as told to me by my spirit co-author, who said that Jesus did not die on the cross, and his friends and family were allowed to take him down right away after crucifixion. Well, ordinarily, anybody that was crucified by the Romans in those days was left hanging on the cross till the vultures picked all his flesh, and there was nothing but a bag of bones. But in Jesus' case, he was allowed to be taken down, and he was tended to his wounds. He had a large wound in the side of his body because of a spear that was thrusted into his side by a Roman soldier. And his followers and his wife then smuggled him out of Palestine aboard one of his Uncle Joseph's ships. Joseph was his brother-in-law. He was the brother of Mary, and they smuggled him out of Palestine on board one of the ships, and they landed him eventually on what is the south of France, what is now the town of Marseille. Then they transported him overland in France. Now this is the story of Jesus, told to me by the so-called Hendrik, my spirit. They transported him overland, and then he died soon after his arrival in a town called Rennes, Rennes, in southern France. He died of his wound, and he's buried there under an enormous rock. And when he died, he was surrounded not only by his wife, but also by a son. Now this goes in the face of every Bible story that you read about Jesus, but if I had to be truthful to the stuff that I was told by my so-called spirits, it's not a channeler. You have to read my book in order to understand what happened. And Polynesian Dreams, I go on a little advertising here. So Polynesian Dreams is a 351-page turner, and it's available again from all the bookstores for $3.79. And all the proceeds, again, are donated to charity. And if you like to read my book and make up a mind what to believe or disbelieve, I ask you to keep an open mind. And let me know about it. I have my email address in the book, and you can talk to me or contact me. And then thank you for listening to this real amateur video. I recorded this using a flip camera, and I'm going to put this on Facebook. And I have a grandiose name, Polynesian Video, Johan van Oldenbarneveld, and I recorded this in Menifee on June the 18th, 2015. And I hope this little video helps me in making my book stand out from all the others that are available. Believe me, there's some two full pictures or photographs of all the places that I described. I have traveled all over the world, and I was able to. After I came back out of the army in the United States, I had serious addictions. And the book is actually an inspirational book. If I could get rid of my addictions, and I did, and because I almost died of them, and I lost everything, I was completely bankrupt morally, financially, physically, and I've worked my way back to prosperity and abundance of life. And if I can do it, then others must be able to do it too, because I'm not an exceptional person. I'm just an ordinary person that finally got to see the light a little bit, and I made use of it, and I worked myself out of my addiction and went on to become a very successful person. And I was able to retire at the age of 58, and then later on, I've always been a writer, by the way, amateur writer, but I had several of my stories published. I've written other books. One of them is still for sale. It has nothing to do with this subject. It has to do with playing poker on the internet. So it's as far away removed from my Polynesian Dream books as you can imagine. But I've always been interested in writing. As a young boy in Holland, without a radio, without television, without hardly anything to do, I became a voracious reader. I read just about every book that I could get a hold of. And I had a pretty good memory. I can remember the stories I read, and I have a tremendous respect for writers. I have some very favorite writers, and I wanted also to become a writer, which I eventually did. Anyway, folks, this is a video that I made to just advertise my book, not so much to advertise it as to make you aware of what's in the book. It's a very interesting book, and people said, hey, Johan, this is a real page burner. I might not agree with a lot of the stuff that's in it, but it is very interesting to read, so I hope that you give this a try. You can go on any of the electronic bookstores and click on Polynesian Dreams, and then you can read a couple of sample chapters. It doesn't cost you a dime. And then if you want to help my animal shelter, my animal friends that I'm very fond of, shell out the $3.79 and buy it. And if you have an addiction, you want to get rid of it, and you don't have $3.79, email me, and then I'll send you the manuscript for free. I don't care. I have sent the book out for free to many people. I don't intend to make money out of it. I donate the money. I don't need it. At 85 years of age, I have enough pennies in the bank to last me for the rest of my life. So give it a try, folks. I really appreciate it. I like my book to be a success. I like to have people talk about my book. I like to bring it to the attention of people because I have spent so many years writing it, and of course I'm biased. I think it's a terrific book. It's very strange in many ways, but it's never boring, believe me. It goes from one thing to another. It has a lot of adventure, a little bit of an Eastern religion tint to it, but you try it, you like it. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off now, so